Perfect. So strengthening buyer engagement and excitement through a defined value proposition. Now, let me ask, who let's do a round table. Who has a value proposition? Do we know what that is? Is anybody using that? Any guesses? No? None of us have a value proposition. Now, before we get into value proposition, and I'll tell you what I use as value proposition, especially for buyers. For sellers, there are a lot of ways. For buyers, first-time buyers, it's different. So I'll go into what I say to them and how I show them that this is what you get by working with me. But let's get into it in a bit. So why buyer engagement falls short, right? So a lot of times we get leads, we get people, and then eventually they just disappear, right? So many buyers see agents as interchangeable without a clear value message, right? A lot of times people say, what's the difference? I can call some guy, he'll do it for 1%, right? So they think it's like a commodity rather than a service, right? An experience and the full package. They think it's just, buying bananas. I can buy it down the line. Why do I have to pay you, right? $2 for, one banana. I can buy it from the other gentleman down the street. Lack of differentiation leads to low commitment and weak loyalty, right? If we're talking, acting, and sounding like 90% of the agents out there, they'll think, hey, there's no difference. The 1% guy or the commission cutback guy or the other weird realtor that they met, like, oh, they sound like them. They're saying the same thing, right? Oh, work with me, I'll do this, right? So then they think, okay, it's all the same thing. I actually, either they do now self-represented party, or they just find someone that they met in an open house and then start writing offers one by one, right? So there's no loyalty without differentiation, right? And buyers engage more with agents who clearly define their role and advantages, actually. If we were to sit down with buyers and tell them, look, working with me, right, you get this. This is why you'll be signing the buyer representation agreement, right? With me, the RICO guide. So from the first meeting or the second meeting, if the first meeting was on Zoom, you're telling them that you have everything in order, like the right way to do things, and then you're telling them why it's necessary for them to read it and sign RICO guide. A lot of people don't even know what RICO guide is. I've had people say, yeah, send me the RICO guide. And I asked them, have you read the RICO guide? Like, yeah, I asked the agents to send me RICO guide and they show me homes. I'm like, no, that's not what RICO guide is for. So if we sit down, if we take extra couple minutes of, let's say 10, 20 minutes, and then explain them that this is why it's important for you. If this goes wrong, these are things that you have to do. These are the options that you have. And then you bring out the designated representation, like buyer, that I will be representing you, and your interest in this transaction. And then these are the benefits of working with me and signing this document, right? So we'll get into it in a bit, but let's get into defining value proposition. So first we have to find, all of us, we have our own, something that we can add on top of the value proposition. That's like a gift. Some of us are local. We've been in Guelph for the last 20, 30 years, or Kitchener or Waterloo, right? We know the area inside out. We don't have to look at the maps. We know the schools, we know school districts, we know all the school, Catholic, public, right? We know everything, right? So that's part of your value proposition. And on top, I'm going to get into some of the things that we can use, especially some of our newer agents. You guys should, show the client that you're different from other agents, right? To get that extra push, because they're seeing these big realtors everywhere, back of the bus, on their ads, on their Facebook, on here, on there, on Instagram, on social media, organically, artificially. They're pumping out lots of ads, right? So they have, once you sit down with them, they have to see, no, this person actually knows their stuff. I'd like to work with them, right? So first thing is we have to clearly explain how you will help buyer win in this market, right? It could be competitive, right? Right now, it's not competitive for buyers. It's actually really good. Same thing for sellers. But we have to clearly explain how working with us will get them where they need to be. Highlight expertise in negotiation, market insight, and process guidance, right? A lot of people are looking for that roadmap. So we have to show them this is your first step, this is your second step. Then you get the pre-approval. Then we start looking at homes. Then we start putting offers. We'll be putting offers with condition, right? So we have to build that roadmap for them, right? And then use our personal examples. Or if you don't have, if you're brand new and this is your first deal, then you can use somebody else's example, right, from the brokerage, and just say, oh, I know some, one of the agents from our team, they had a client similar to that. This is how we handled the situation, right? They were first-time buyers, just like you. People like, and it also builds trust too, but people like seeing that you've helped somebody else who was in that same situation, right? That's what testimonials does to your business. But going back to this, us telling them also reinforces that, okay, they have helped somebody who was in exact same position, and not one person, maybe 10, 20, 30, or hundreds over the last 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, right? So it gives them confidence in working with us. We have to focus on outcomes, right? Like saving time, reducing risk, and securing a better deal. Because at the end of the day, all of this is for the client, right? It's not for us. So we can't focus on us, on the best. I'll do this for you. No, I'll do this for you so you get the better price, right? I'll do this for you so you guys are safe. I'll put in a condition of inspection so you guys can find out if there's anything wrong. And if there is, we'll go back to the seller, ask them if they can do price reduction or get these things fixed, right? All of this saves you time, your hard-earned money, and in case everything falls apart, the offer is conditional. You can always back out if there's something really, really wrong with the house. So I'll get into value proposition what I use, but these are the points that we have to keep in mind while developing our unique value proposition, right? And we don't have to have unique value proposition. There are certain things that we can use, and then we can start using it like a generic value proposition. But keep in mind, everybody else is using that too, right? So any questions on this from anyone? Any questions, any feedback, anybody is using kind of a value? I'm sure you guys are using it. You're not, maybe you're not thinking it how I'm thinking about it, but we're all using it, even consciously or subconsciously. We're all telling people that, oh yeah, I've lived here 10 years. Like that is part of your value proposition. You're local, right? Or I have access to both boards. That's part of your value proposition. Okay, so going back to my value proposition is on my first call with the client when they're looking for homes, I'll say, look, what I'll do for you is I'll send you a list of homes in your criteria that match your criteria and the price every morning. And you'll also get the list of homes where there's a price improvement, is there a reduction or improvement, or homes that sell within your criteria and in this region. That way you stay updated with the market. And what I'll also do, what I can do for you, like we were taught to use this. I did a coaching thing a long time ago. I think Kathleen Black coaching. So we had to use this line. What I can do for you is and then you say, I'll send you a list of homes, I'll do this, this, this. And then what my team will do for you is we will start looking for homes in your criteria that are not yet listed on the MLS. And once we find something that matches your criteria, we'll notify you. That way you know what's on the market and what's not on the market. How does that sound? 99% people will say, sure, go right ahead, right? And then you say, perfect. And why don't we do this? Once I've sent you the list of homes, I'd like to call you, get your feedback on that list of homes that I've sent you, and then set up a quick Zoom or in-person meeting to go over your needs and wants and to narrow down what kind of homes are best for you, right? That's our way of bringing in people and differentiating from 90% of the people, right? When people call, typically this is how a process goes. They say, hey, I'm looking for a house. Okay, what's your name and email? Okay, all right. And 700? Sure. Two bed, three bath. Like you send them the homes and you never hear from them, but you see them opening the emails, right? Every 8 a.m. They're opening. So that's not what we want. We have to differentiate. So that's my value proposition, that you'll get homes on and off market. And then I'd like to do a consultation for them to create a plan, especially if they're first-time buyers, to create a full plan so they stay on track. And then go over, this is the second presentation that I do, right? So first one's a mini presentation over the phone. The second one is the first-time buyer presentation that I ask them. I say, hey, by the way, for first-time home buyers, I do a one-on-one consultation, and then I will go over everything you need to know as a first-time home buyer. And there's no obligation. You don't have to work with us. You don't have to work with my company. But this way, I'll get a chance to meet you, and I can go over everything that you need to know as first-time home buyers. And a lot of my home buyers have used this and saved thousands of dollars. And they feel much more confident once they know, okay, this is the process, right? And I do my presentation with them, either Zoom or in person. So that these things are my value proposition things. And once they're in front of me, 99.99%, I can close them. I've never had a presentation that I did and they didn't buy through me, right? So, because they see so much value. And then a bonus thing at the end of it is I bring up the buyer representation agreement, right? The designated representation agreement. And I say, hey, by the way, have you seen one of these before? They said, no. I'm like, and you'll never see them if you work with most of the agents because they don't like to bring that up. And the right way to do is as soon as we meet, our first meeting, right? I'll say not this one, but before we start looking at the properties, we have to establish that I'm working for you, I have insurance, and these are the benefits of signing this with my company. First, you get confidentiality. Everything we've discussed stays with us. Nobody else knows what's happening, your pre-approval, your reason to move, right? And then I go over other things like it's my fiduciary duty to make sure you get the best price and you get the best deal, not anybody else. And then third thing is it shows there that I have insurance, like errors and omission, you can see that. Right? So I have these points that I go over that brings them clarity that okay, yeah, that's good. And I tell them that this is, you can read RICO guideline. We're mandatory to get this signed at earliest possible opportunity, right? That we get. So, and this helps you because now, you know clearly that this agent's working. These are the things we're getting by working with them, right? So that I add that as a bonus, and I tell them, look, 90% of the agents will never share that with you because they're not confident in what they can achieve, and they'll always hide it or they'll slip it in the offer and make you sign the offer, and then next thing you know, you're tied up with someone, right? So again, telling people, showing them these forms is part of my value proposition because most people are not doing it. And once you're different from 99% of the people or 90, then people will automatically come to you and say, no, we'd like to work with you, right? So going back into how to structure your value proposition, having a consistent message, right? So reinforce your value at every touch point, right? What that means is every slide, I tell them how working with me will benefit them, right? First one is on my slides, on my first time buyer presentation, needs and wants. And I said, it's crucial to look into your needs and wants. Needs will make sure everything is checked off. Wants is up to you guys, right? And then I'm okay, right? So it's my job to find that perfect property, and then you guys will have to sacrifice on your wants, but we'll make sure all of your needs will be checked off. Like, okay, good, right? So then I'm just telling them how it's good if they work with me. The second slide is working with a real estate agent, right? Then I tell them, look, I've helped people. So again, I'm trying to deliver the consistent message that working with me will benefit you, right? And that's how it should be. I don't have to say I'm the number one agent. What does that have to do with them? Buyers and sellers, they have to sell and buy. Saying I'm the number one, I have 10 billboards, I don't think that's what they're looking for, right? That's my personal opinion. That helps, but that's not what anyone wants to hear. They want to see, okay, working with this person will solve my problem. I can sell within 2 months because they have consistent track record of selling, and they're not trying to, just get me as their client, right? Use confident, simple language that buyers easily understand, right? Sometimes we get into this, habit of using terms. So I always simplify it. It used to be very simple. It has to be very, very simple. So buyers and sellers can understand, right? They don't know what's supporting your mortgage, right? And again, using fancy terms will not impress them. It will only complicate the sale or the purchase. Consistency builds credibility and long-term client trust, right? So they have to consistently see that you're giving value from the first text call all the way to when they're looking at properties, right? So if you're really good at first 3 appointments and then you start showing up late or rescheduling appointments or just not showing up and not picking up their phone, you're going to lose time, right? So whatever we promise them, we also have to deliver it too, right? So if clients start seeing that, oh, we're saying working with you would be this, this, and this, but we're not seeing that, right? So we have to, whatever we're promising, we should be able to deliver that, right? So value proposition, again, if I say, look, I'll help you, I'll put a condition of finance and inspection, but then when I'm putting an offer, there's no condition. Again, we didn't really do anything different in that case. So I think that's before we get into roundtable, let's see any questions on today's topic or any feedback.